Hi guys, it's Amanda here and welcome to the studio. Welcome to another Friday and Inspirational Shorts, where I share with you a particular supply, tool or book that I'm using, that I have used, just to give you a little bit of inspiration to see whether it's something that you would like to use yourself in your creative practice. If you want to see a tutorial for any of the products that I share, then leave a comment. So yeah, let's get on with today. Hello and welcome to today. Welcome to Inspirational Shorts, where you get to hear about a supply, a tool or a book. We haven't done very many books so far. I don't think I've done any so far. I've done book reviews, but not in this short format, because in under 5 minutes, how much can I tell you about a book? But I will be doing some book reviews shortly. But today we are going to look, well, we're not going to look at the word, but I'm going to tell you the word for today is proud. What does that mean to you? What does that mean for you? Now, I would have put it in terms of being proud of what you have accomplished, what you do, and not to think that what you do is insignificant. I think we have to be looking at our accomplishments, and I do it all the time. I say I'm really proud of the way that I've grown my garden. I'm really proud of the way that I've kind of launched into different things. I've started, you know, doing more YouTube videos, and I do the garden YouTube videos now, and that's going really well, and I really enjoy it. And it's things that I would do anyway. I love talking about supplies. I love sharing the things that I have, the things that I found out, and passing that on. So I've got a few things here. I was going to just cover this, but you are going to get a treat today, because I started experimenting and I love the way that it is going. And so I'm going to, just show you a few things. So here is the beeswax. This is what I'm going to talk about today, but in this little contraption, it's my oil burner, and I found these oil burners are really good to melt wax. I haven't had one of those big machines, but if you're on a low budget, then this is a good alternative. All you need is a tea light, and what I've been doing with my tea lights, I'll show you. Okay. Okay, sorry about this. I hadn't planned to do this bit. So I have been saving the tea light holders. They're very thin metal, but they're very, you can work with them really well. You can cut them, emboss in them, but that's for another time. So what I do with the tea lights is I just utilize one, and when I want to light a new tea light, so the one in there is the one that I've been using, they come out really easy. So I just take it out, I save this, so this is now I can use it in an art project, and I put it in the one that I've been using all the time. So, you know, in a bag of 100 tea lights, I will only use one for the purpose of burning, and I just, you know, I just take this out of the new ones, and then I've got a new you know, something that I can work with. So what I've been using some of these tea lights for is to hold wax. So as I say, the wax burns really easily, and I've just put, this is natural beeswax, pellets, and it says they're perfect for use in a melting pot. So I'm just going to put it in here, and you'll be able to see I never knew that. Anyway, let me just, so I've put it in here, and we're going to see how quickly it melts. I've just put oh, okay, so it comes in pellets, and it's really, really easy to use. Now if you've got one of those, Why is it all coming out now? It's because the lid's open. Okay, so I'm just going to put those in there. Anything that's... What I've got in here is wax as well, but I'll go through that as well. I opened it because I just wanted to show you some of it had melted, and so don't worry about being able to use it when it melts, because if you use it and it's melted together, it can be remelted. So this is probably going to be one of the longer inspirational shorts. It's not going to be short because I want to show you so much, and I'm not going to keep it very long, but to show you there's no point in just showing you the wax melting. I might as well show you me doing something with it, and that's where we are. And whilst it's melting, so it doesn't take long to melt, it's starting to melt already. These tea lights produce quite a lot of heat. Even the container itself is really hot, so you have to be very careful. And what I have in here is wax that I had used from a different thing, and I'll show you. So if this is candle wax, and this is one of those more expensive ones, it's scented, it's got a beautiful smell, and when it melted, it just melted down the middle, and then it left all these bits around the side. And then I found that if I just cut a bit off and put it in this burner, when it burns, it smells, you have that same candle smell, which was really nice. So as I say, this is to be used in a melting pot. It's by Ranger, and I brought it cost me a £5, just over a £5, and I've had it for years. I haven't really used it because I haven't done that many projects with wax, but some of the things you can do with it. Let's see what on this it says. For brushing over paper or canvas projects, create unique embellishments from molds, altered art projects and encaustic techniques. Now I'm thinking, molds? Where are my molds? Where are my molds? My gosh, I've not used it in molds before. I didn't even realise. You know, when I brought it, I was thinking about getting involved in encaustic projects. And I'm just leaving this there so you can see it melting. And it's just a few minutes, yeah. So I hadn't used this in molds, but I've got some molds that I might even look at. I'm just thinking where I put my my molds. Anyway, so it says you can use it in molds, so you can use it in molds. You can melt it and then add it into the mold and allow it to dry. And they've got a website here that you can look at. Anyway, so I brought this, and then this came along, this candle, and I've used candles before, and I've used the crayons, and for a particular wax project it is really good as well. So as I say, I would cut off a piece here and use it in my burner, and it would make the room smell really nice. And I had some in here, and I've just cleaned it out, and I've used it on a project. So I actually used it to cover a painting. Now, I'd never really done that before, and I must say the effect is actually quite lovely. Now, I don't like the so let me see the first one that I did, and I will do another one. So I don't like the thick kind of, you know, waxy look, and I put it on the surface of the paper, and then I thought, oh, I wonder what would happen if I scraped it off. And what's happened is it's covered it, it's made it in like it's given it a nice kind of smooth surface. And I guess it does depend on the kind of paper that you use. But what I've done is use pastel, chalk pastel under here. This is actually what this bit was chalk pastel mixed with gesso, and then this bit around it is just the chalk pastel that I thought, oh, let me just put it around the edge and see. So all I did was add a layer of the wax, and then I scraped it off, and that's what we've got here. Now there is an artist who called Heidi Burgess. She does a lot of encaustic work, and she recently started doing some pastels, and she's finished them with the wax finish, and added some other mixed media pieces. So I have to give her credit there, because I would never have thought to try wax on pastel. But if this is, I'm going to experiment and see. As I say, I prefer a kind of smoother finish, although I do like texture. But I'm looking at how, especially on the pastels, I did the 100 pastel series, and I was thinking to myself, I really don't want to use the spray fixative because it changes the colour, and having a wax coat just takes it to another level. So I'm going to be experimenting, but for the meantime we've got the wax has melted. So in that 5 minutes of me just talking, the wax has melted, and so the oil burner is a really great tool to have in your studio. But just be careful, because you have to lift these carefully, and what I would do is finish using that before you do anything else. So I've got a just a sample here of just something that I had done with pastel, and what I'm going to do is maybe just add a bit over the top. Maybe just find a colour. Oh, my oil burner went out, so what I'm going to do is, okay, so this is, I'm just going to do this. So you've got a basic image there, but I just wanted to add some fresh pastel. Let me get my matches, and you can actually see this in action. So as I say, you've got a treat of a longer session today, so I hope you enjoy it, or you see something that you think, oh, I'd love to try that. Okay, so I'm getting my tools. So normally it will go out and it will be the next day when I go back, so I'm just being careful. So all I do is take this bit out, and I'm going to put it over there, and I take the new tea light with its stem, and then I just pop it in. No, it's not hot. And then I've reused that, and let me just light it here. I had a couple of I had a couple of oil burners. I'm just going to turn it around just in case I've got my fan on. Okay, so we've got the wax in here, we've got the pastel, and then I've added some fresh pastel. And the thing about using wax is once you've used the brush in here, you can't use it for anything else, because when it dries the brush goes hard. Yeah, I'm going to come in slightly, okay, so that you can see. So all I'm going to do is take this wax and coat the paper, and once I put the brush in the wax, it just softens up and I can use it as is. Now, so this is what I didn't like. This particular wax is a lot, when you put it over artwork, it's a lot, you know, it dries whiter, and that's not the kind of finish, I guess. No, that's not the kind of finish I'd want. So in terms of encaustic, I guess, you know, that's the kind of finish you're going for, then that's, you know, fine. Actually, I'm going to do half. So I'll use this up and we'll compare with the candle wax. Now, I think because you're using such a thin layer of the candle wax, it's fine. And then you've got that beautiful smell because it's a scented candle wax. So this, I think this was the thing that put me off. So when you put a layer on, it dries so thickly, and if you don't like that particular look, then, you know, I don't think I did anything else. I was just like, that's why the container is still so full. But if it works the way I'm thinking it's going to work, all I'm doing is continue just using it up. Okay, so let's make sure that's still lit. Okay, so I'm going to take my tool and just get the other one's better. So get my tool and just take it off, and I'm going to put this one on. Okay, so it should melt pretty quickly. And this is one, I had put it on a surface that had dried. It wasn't, it didn't have a lot of colour on it already. It was from an art journal. It was this art journal. So I'd put the wax on, and I love the finish. I love it in here. So I love taking off that layer. So you've got just a kind of a matte finish, but you've got a texture as well, and it's protecting the work underneath. Okay, so now this one is dry. I'm just going to wait for that to melt, and it's melting as I speak. So one of the things that I would do is scrape it off. So I've got my palette knife here. As you can see, the brushes go hard as soon as you've taken it out of the wax, but as long as you just keep that for the wax, that's it for life. So I'm just, what I was doing with the other one was scraping off a layer. So this has gone on a lot thicker, and so the layer is just that much harder to scrape off. It's not as easy as the other one, but it's coming off wholer. It's coming off whole, like whole pieces, rather than the little fragments here that you can see there. So I'm gonna, sorry about that, I'm gonna come in a bit and move this, and just I'm bringing it towards me to see how that works. And yeah, actually I don't mind that it's coming off like that. You just have to be more careful about the paper, obviously, because you know you wouldn't want it to tear. And a little bit of the layer, a layer of the wax is then left on the paper. Now if you had, the thing with this, if you had any texture on there, you would have to be careful that you're not taking it up as well. So just be careful. So that layer of, and I'm going to try something else, that layer of wax being taken off is fine. And I'm just gonna see if I could go over it with a supply and how that would be, but that's for another day. Yeah. Okay, so this one now is melting, the other one is melting, but that's the top half. You've still got the vibrancy of the wax, the vibrancy of the pastels underneath, but then you've got this layer of wax, and you can touch it, you know it's not going to be damaged. You've got some of the texture of, you know, the way that maybe the grooves of the palette knife, but that's okay. I love texture anyway, but it's going to be interesting to compare the wax from the, you can see it's kind of got a sheen to it. Oops. Okay, and 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the top half I used the beeswax, the natural beeswax, and this is the residue that's come off because I used the pastels. You've got a stain of the pastels, so if you were going to use this on, you know, additional paper, you might pick up the stain on the paper. I'm going to turn it around and let's see how we're doing. It's melting quite quickly. There we go. See, just mixed it and it's all melted. It's green again because I was using some other I had some green on my paper. I'd use some green in this one when I scraped it off. Okay, so let's go. So I'm just going to add it to the paper. So it's the same sort of thing. We've got, and again, because this is maybe a darker colour paper, the wax is going to be more apparent on the paper. And I'm just covering the paper with it. This is okay, that's no problem. So I'm taking this out and I'm going to use the wax from there. The reason why I use the little tins is because it just keeps it clean. Okay, so, and if you want, what you do is you let it cool, and then just before it's cool you can pop it out because it would be dried solid. It will cool down and go solid, dry solid. Okay, so these I can keep, I can reuse these. I'm just double checking. So this had the beeswax, and the other nice thing about the beeswax is its malleability. Like, you know, it's, the other wax wouldn't do that. It's very kind of flaky, but that's fine. Once this is hard, you can cut it up and utilize it in whatever way. So this is I'm just going to give it a bit longer because it feels slightly warm. I don't want it to I want it to be totally dry when I do it. Actually, there's two bits there that didn't get done, just there. So I'm going to have to wait a bit longer, and just there. Okay, so the main thing that I was going to show you was this beeswax. It is flexible. It you know, you just need temperature, heat underneath it, and if you don't have the specific melting pot, then this is the same principle, but you just have to be careful because you've got a naked flame there, and you know, you don't want to burn yourself or anybody else. So this, you know, you, as I say, you can put it in one of these little containers, put it in there, and it will melt melt, and you can just use as much as you want and use it in your projects, no problem. An alternative is to use the candle wax, or you can use wax crayons, you know, the children's ones. They melt quite nicely. You get separation with those, and I've not yet done this particular type of technique with it in terms of scraping the wax off, but I really do like the finish. This is one of the, I think I showed you this already, one of the other paintings. And then I was also experimenting on fabric. I'm going to try and do some batik type feel. So I've just literally laid down the wax so far, and then lay down some paint, and then you iron it off. Just be careful of your iron. Anyway, let us now scrape this off, and then we can compare. So it scrapes off in flakes. I'm going to do it this way. I think you have to find your rhythm so that you can get it down to the layer that you want. And I just want a thin layer of wax on the paper. So if you were thinking about doing this kind of thing as an art project, you would maybe, yeah, just get all your tools and supplies, and you know, just go for it and just experiment. And it's in these experiments that you get some happy, you know, some really lovely results. So I'm just looking at the difference is the beeswax is more shiny. So this is the beeswax and this is the candle wax, and I've just scraped off the layer, and yeah, I still like the way that I like both of them, and so I'll probably use them both in different ways. I would use them both in different ways for different projects, depending on what it is. So for these smaller projects, I'm thinking if it was a larger painting now, it would be a whole different story. But the next thing I'd love to try this beeswax is in use it, well, it says canvas projects as well, and encaustic techniques. Combine beeswax with tie-dye, 2-dye with 2-dye 4 colorants to create gorgeous colourful wax projects. Oh, make one-of-a-kind molds using mold and pour. So basically you would melt the wax in this particular container, and then you're able to pour it out. But this can serve as well. Look, I can create a little nozzle spout there and then put the pot inside and then melt the wax. As you've seen, it melts pretty quickly. And this is the one that dried. This is the one that it fell out of, and it's dried already. So yeah, you're able to, you don't need that much for a project, you know, because if you're scraping it off, you're then going to be able to reuse it in another project. So yeah, I'm really glad that I took the time just to experiment. You can have a look around for the beeswax, and until you find it, you know, you can experiment with some alternatives. But it's always good to be able to have the product itself and, you know, try it out, even if it's on a small scale. This was, you know, cheap enough that, you know, I invested in it, and as I say, I've had it for years, and they're pellets. Once you've used it, you can reuse it. It's just melt, remelt. And I hope that it sparked some sort of some things that you can maybe do, some projects. This is in my art journal. I did this, and I love the effect on this and the feel. If you feel it, this, as I said, it's done with the candle wax, but I love the effect. And I'm just gonna, I had been a bit too vigorous on a piece of the page, so I took a bit of the thing off. Okay, so there you go. I hope that's been useful, and I hope you're able to experiment and see how you get on with the wax. Okay, take care for now.